So we're all good.
So you can watch it again later.
It's all. Is this thing? Yep. Okay, so we're gonna call the hearing for the water treatment facility to order. We do have Nate Peon and Reed Winters here from Aldrich and Elliott. They are the engineers on this project. So let you guys
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Can everybody hear me all right? I don't want to blow your eardrums out. So Nate Peon with Aldrich and Elliott. I'm a senior engineer with Aldrich and Elliott. Been working on this project going back to probably 2017, 2018. I'll walk you through the PowerPoint presentation, try to answer all your questions. I'm sure the big question everybody wants to know will be answered at the second to last slide. What's the cost impact to the water users? So I'd ask just to hold questions until the end. Some of your questions may be answered as I walk through the PowerPoint presentation. So there's three elements to this project that are on the bond. There's the south transmission main replacement, and then there's the water treatment plant refurbishments, both for the south and the north. And I'll walk you through each. The south transmission main replacement is how are you getting the water from the intake to the treatment plant. We've got a couple pictures here. This is the intake on the left that you see. The middle photo is the north plant, and then the one on the right is the storage tank. There we go. So project location for the north or the south, pardon me, water treatment plant and the transmission main. As you can see, this is the south side of Island Pond. We've got the intake, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to see my laser, but you can see the photo. The water intake's up on the hill, and then the existing transmission main is this red line that runs cross country from the intake to the south water treatment plant. That was installed in the 1900s. It's cast iron. I'll get into a little of the reasons why it's looking to be, or we're proposing to replace it as part of this project. And then you've got the south water treatment plant here and the reservoir both on the same site. And then I'll jump to the north plant located up above town. You know, the church is down here, the Catholic church. The north reservoir and the north plant are located off of Patrick Road. And so the south transmission main, as I mentioned, brings water from the intake to the south water treatment plant. It was installed in the 1910 timeframe. It's a cast iron line. It was rehabilitated back in the early 1990s. They cleaned it and pigged it to try to get some of the tuberculation off. They had the town had issues with restriction of flow of that transmission main. So back in the 1990s, they tried to rehabilitate it. It worked for a while, but it started to restrict flow again. Started to see less flow coming through from the intake to the treatment plant. So at this point, our recommendation is you've rehabilitated it one time. It's time to replace it with a newer material, PVC, polyvinyl chloride. It's a smooth wall, and it's not going to tuberculate like you have with the cast iron main. So that's the real crux of why that's being proposed for replacement, is because of the tuberculation and the restricted flow that you're receiving at the south water treatment plant. The north intake, or the north transmission main, pardon me, was replaced back in the early 1990s, early 2000s, and they replaced that with PVC then. And that had also been rehabilitated with some pigging and some cleaning in the early 1990s. Flow started to restrict again, so they went and replaced it. The town did. So now it's time for the south transmission main to do the same. At the water treatment plants, they were constructed in 1987. There's been no major upgrade since. So you're living off borrowed time at both of these treatment plants. Typically, you have an expected useful life of 20 to 30 years. This is approaching 40 years. So you've gotten your time and money out of both of these plants, and they're really starting to fatigue and show its age. So all of the major equipment that is in both the north and the south water treatment plants are proposed for replacement or refurbishment. As part of this project, you can see here is a picture of the filter tank. That's proposed to be reused. We're going to sandblast the tank, recoat it, and the same thing with the flock tank. We're trying to reuse as much as possible, but it's a lot of aged equipment that needs to be replaced. So the guts of both the flock and the filters will be replaced. The flock tank acts as just a settling basin just to give time for the chemicals to react to it, to bind with some of the natural organic matter that is in the south and north source before it enters the filters and goes through a dual media of sand and anthracite in the traveling bridge. And that's what you see up here is a picture of the top view of the filter. It's got 12 different cells that have the media, the sand and the anthracite in it, and it travels down through that to get get the natural organic material out of the water. So that media, any of the mechanical, electrical components within the filter units will be replaced. And as I mentioned, the tank will be sandblasted and recoated as part of the project. The chemical containment will be improved. Right now, they've got some small containment areas, but per the water supply rules, need to contain at least half of the volume that would be in the day tanks. So we're looking to upgrade that, and then also the electrical and mechanical components in the plant itself. It's all vintage, 40 years almost. It's needing replacement at this time. There's also the gatehouse, which predates the water treatment plants. It's got the finished meter inside of it, and it also has a process pump in there to feed back up to the plants. Those are proposed to be demolished, and new gatehouses will be installed to monitor the finished water, also monitor what the residual is for the chlorine going into the system. And then the controls and instrumentation, like any electronic device, your computer, that's all out to date. It doesn't take long for those pieces of equipment or components to become outdated, no longer service. So anytime the town's looking to replace anything that's electrical, it's hard to find those original components anymore. They've been discontinued by the manufacturer. They're just not available. A lot of places have to go on eBay or look for things in that avenue. It's just not very feasible or economical at this time to continue with the existing equipment. Project needs, as part of this, we're also expanding the capacity of the water treatment plants. Per the rules, you need to have redundancy. You need to be able to meet your average day demand with one component or one of your sources offline. So this is looking at if one of the treatment plants, in this case, we'll say the south was out of service, you'd need the north plus some additional capacity to meet your average day demand. There were 2 wells, one at each site that were installed in 1987 at the north and the south water treatment plant, one on each site, just to clarify. And those weren't really utilized because they were high in iron and manganese. They've been used limitedly over the past 40 years during times of high demands or low water capacity at the sources, and they are blended with the existing sources, but they've never been utilized routinely. So as part of this project, we'll be adding in some skid-mounted treatment systems, some filters to treat the iron and manganese so the wells can be utilized regularly. Also included as the project is the North Reservoir. An existing liner was installed in the 1990s. Those have about a 30-year life expectancy. So yet again, living on borrowed time. So we're going to replace it with an in-kind geomembrane liner. That's also the same liner that we're installing at the South Reservoir, planned for early 2026. And that was funded through a grant through the Vermont Bond Bank, the South Reservoir liner. So as part of the improvements, just sort of encapsulating everything I've talked about, we're looking at replacing the south transmission main, approximately 5,900 feet of 4-inch and 6-inch cast iron mains installed in the 1900s with new 4-inch PVC. The 4-inch PVC will have the same carrying capacity of the 4 and the 6-inch. At the south water and north water treatment plants, we're going to be refurbishing the flocculators and the filters. New process control, instrumentation, mechanical and electrical upgrades. We're going to be adding new groundwater treatment systems to each plant. The south water treatment plant, which has the laboratory at it, will have a new standby generator, and then we'll be installing new gatehouses at both facilities. And as we talked about, at the north, we'll be replacing the geomembrane liner. Project timeline, bond vote is tomorrow. Assuming the bond vote passes, we begin final design and then work over that design to the next calendar year. And then we'd be looking at in 2027, getting bids out for the water treatment plant upgrades and the transmission main, starting construction in the spring of 2027, And by the time we're finished construction, it'll be about a 1.5-year project. The reason for that is the treatment plants will need to be taken offline separately. They can't both be taken off at the same time. We're going to need to coordinate, do a little dance to make sure that the water customers are still getting water routinely. There are not any disruptions to the water service and the customers. So one plant will need to be taken offline at a time in order to facilitate that. And then once it's constructed, it'll begin the 1-year warranty period. Total project cost, which I know everybody's most concerned about. The total project cost is 9.6 million. That's the bond amount that you see in the article for tomorrow. That includes the construction, which is approximately $6.9 million, contingency of $1 million, and then engineering and other costs. Other costs would include legal, permitting, administrative fees. So all that summed together comes to the $9.6 million that you see on the bond article. We've pursued 2 different funding agencies or opportunities. One is the state Vermont Drinking Water Revolving Fund, Drinking Water SRF. The town is eligible for a disadvantage planning subsidy of 25% and then a construction subsidy of 50%. The loan terms through the Drinking Water SRF program is 0% over 40 years. So of that 6.9 construction, 50% of that would be subsidy. It's provided via loan forgiveness. And then out of some of the engineering, another 25% subsidy would be offered. The town is working and has applied for a USDA Rural Development Fund. They don't announce offers until the loan package or the funding application is complete. Typically for communities like Brighton, you're looking at somewhere about 50 to 75% grant. But that's not guaranteed until the loan is approved and finalized. So that's still an avenue that the town's looking to explore. It offers some additional opportunities and incentives versus the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. But for the numbers that I'm about to present in regards to the user impact, I've used it based off of the calculation based off of the Drinking Water SRF because there's more certainty there. That's announced in their yearly intended use plan. So with an annual loan amount of 0% interest over 40 years minus the anticipated subsidies I mentioned, we're looking at an annual payment for the town of $137,471 per year. And that trickles down to the water customers. Their monthly bill would increase about $22 per month based off of the Drinking Water SRF fund amount. And that would only be paid for by the water system customers. It's not paid for by people that aren't on the water. It's all paid through their water rates. Reminder, bond vote tomorrow, special meeting from 9 to 7 here at the town hall. And with that, I will open it up to questions. This is just water that I'm talking about. I know there's an existing sewer project that's ongoing, but I'm not involved with that, so I can't speak about that.
Sewer is going to the sewer project.
They are separate funds. You have to talk into a microphone. It doesn't get recorded. Well, I mean, what the board has been working towards is we're doing 5-year budgeting now. So you won't see huge jumps in the bills, hopefully, going forward. We've kind of built in these loan payments when they're going to start being due and payable by the users. And so you'll see every year there's going to be a little increase in both, but we should not see huge jumps like we did a few years back. And that was basically because the water and sewer boards in the past were just holding the rates the same. While all their expenses were going up, they weren't taking that into account and setting rates that covered those expenses, which is kind of why we're 40 years out on a project that should have been done 10 or 15 years ago. And so water and sewer are kind of 2 separate entities as far as budgeting goes, because they're 2 separate systems. We have the same operator on both, but they have different funding streams, different everything.
Not all sewer users have water, not all water users.
So we're looking at an increase for both. So for those of us who have 7 units in town, we're looking at a massive $42 times 3 is $66 a quarter just for water. So if you do another increase on sewer, I pay my rental, I have 5 units for my rentals. So I'm paying 66 times all of those rentals per quarter just for water, and that's not counting your sewer project. So
Your water and sewer rates are already taking into account these projects going forward. I mean, they will go up every year, but they will not be jumping. We are already building in with the rate structure that we've got set up. We're looking 5 years ahead, and we're actually putting those loan payments.
contingencies for capital reserves so that this doesn't happen.
That's we will be doing a new study on, exactly how much do we need to be putting away. I mean, we're putting money away now, but I don't believe it's enough. I mean, I don't believe what we're doing. We'll ease into that. I mean,
So of the $137,000 per year for 40 years of repayment, how much realistically are we going to have to pay if you get all of the funding sources that you are hoping to get?
half-ish. I mean, I always count on half, 50%.
So that
We're-
137 accounts for the 50% subsidy.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
we might, if USDA comes through with a better offer, we might get a little better. So when we did the wastewater treatment plant, we only got a 42% grant from USDA because the town had no debt. And so they said, you can afford it. Little did they know. And so that's why we only got that amount of an offer. Well, now we have that debt on our books. So we will actually qualify for more money than we did on the wastewater side. Well, there is that, which we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. I mean, there's no easy answer with any of this.
So the $66 per quarter increase in water is including what isn't guaranteed. It's hoping that.
That
Yes, it's-
included,
yes.
yeah, that
I mean,
included the
it's
drinking water.
based on
SRF.
what we know at this point. And I can tell you, we deal with it as it comes. So wastewater treatment plant, that project was supposed to be $3.756 million. When we went to bond, that's what we bonded for because that was the cost of that project. It is just shy of $9 million now. And USDA's, offer doesn't change. Once they make it to you, it's set. So we actually had to go find other money to make the difference. And luckily for our users here, that money all came in grants. We raised $4.5 million in grant funding to supplement that project. It's not easy, but we would do the same thing with this if we can. The other thing I would say is, and Nate cannot listen to this, there is the potential the town could absorb part of that payment because, just because you're not on the water system, your children do go to the school. You do go to the restaurants. You do go to all those things. I mean, in the past, the town typically would pay part of that bond payment as a, benefit because it benefits all residents within the town of Brighton. The thing is, we can't say that at this point because when you go asking for funding, if you say the taxpayers are paying this, guess what? You don't get any grant. They're like, the taxpayers can afford to pay for all of it then. So, I mean, it's a game. That's just kind of how it works. At this point, it's all on the water users. But what the town does in the future, once all of this is over and done with, that's up to the townspeople. And, we have the ability to do it differently if we want once it's all finished. But at this point, we have to make it look as bad as we can for you.
How many residents, I guess, are on the water?
We have 735 units on water. Or thereabouts. Don't hold me to the exact number. 720 something or to 735, somewhere in that range. Well, we have 1,157 for population, but I'm not sure because you have to consider some of those 735 are not residents. Especially on water, because water covers everything on Lakeshore Drive and everything. There's water out there. There's not sewer out there, but there is water. And so, That's why water is not as hard to run for the town. 735 users makes it at least palatable. It's tough on the wastewater side. If we only have 435 users on the water side, absorbing, a $4 million bond
You mean sewer?
on the sewer. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a little bit slow here. Did I understand you saying that the people that are not the water users are not gonna pay for this? But then you turned around and said, well, maybe after all this, the taxpayers will all pay for it.
We can, the town has the ability to cover part of that bond debt itself. But at this point where we are in the project, we can't put that as our option because it will shoot us in the foot when it comes to funding.
But then you can turn around and charge the taxpayers.
We can in the future. I mean, the thing is, it's up to the select board and the voters at that point. We're looking at 4 to 5 years from now. Until this project is finished, you can't change any of that.
You're not going to start to see the first payment on this until after the 1-year warranty period, that 2029 timeframe. So you're a couple years out before you start to see your first payment.
Basically, in the future, it's forcing low-income people out of their homes.
Unfortunately, the water rates didn't keep up through the years. I mean, our water rates are not, I know everybody says they're really high, but they're not. I mean, if you compare them to any town around us, they're very comparable, or, kind of middle of the road. We're not the cheapest, but we're certainly not the most expensive. And so this is one of those projects that this isn't a luxury item. This is either we have water or we don't. It's not optional. So unless everybody wants to go drill a well, this is what we have to work with. And I mean, I think we're on the right path going forward now to not get into this shape again. But this is a lot of years of not planning for the future. So I know it's painful. It's not anything anybody wants to hear, but it's the truth and it's the reality of it.
Some people can't afford it. We're forcing them out.
We're not doing it. There's a cost to run the water system. It's not like we have the ability to pull money out of the air. I mean, we do. I mean, we're going to get the government to fund as much of this as we can, but in essence, it is our water system. We are responsible for it. So we will do our best to keep the cost where we can so that it stays affordable. But there's no easy answer tonight. Sure, just make sure you're talking into a microphone because otherwise you're not recorded.
I would like to say that I did a study 2 years ago, and Island Pond was in the middle of the least expensive and the most expensive. And you should see what some places are paying per quarter. It's 3 times what we pay on the high end. I also like to say that if you've been reading the Chronicle lately, we're not the only town having problems. Newport is having big water district problems. Their rates went up, if you read the paper, 28%. So we're not the only ones that are having problems in the state. A lot of small towns and cities are having big problems. And the government keeps forcing us to do this and do that. And the things that they want to have done cost money to do the things that they want to have done. And every year, don't forget, they wanted us off these brooks. And we as a board fought against that. We're keeping what we have because it's a redundant system. We get good award-winning water that we've won awards for the type of water that we have. And we want to keep it. It costs very little because it's all gravity feed. So it doesn't cost us a lot of money for operations. But some of the other things they wanted us to do, our cost of operations especially electric bill would have gone, this is an exaggeration here, but from $300 up to $3,000 for what they wanted us to do, because these pumps would have to run 24/7. And we're talking 50 horsepower pumps to pump water all the time, 24 hours a day, because they wanted us off the brooks, and we fought that. And so we're looking out for the town. So we're doing the best we can with what we have to work with. And I think in the long run, we're going to have a good system that's going to be good for, the next 20 to 30 years. And I hope I'm right. But you have to spend money to make money, because if you don't keep up maintenance, and that's where we lacked good maintenance. And things weren't being upgraded, and Band-Aid, 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 and it came back to bite us. So we're trying to alleviate that problem now. We're looking ahead, and we're looking at things that need to be done. And some things we've gotten done now, that we've done some sewage pumping stations that have been rectified, that were in pretty sad shape. And we're looking good there now, but you have to keep them up. You got to spend money. Like the other day, there was a pumping truck that went through, and they cleaned all the pump stations. This wasn't being done on a regular basis, so all the grease gets built up. And the next thing you know, your pump fails because it's clogged. And to change a pump is $7,000 to $10,000 a piece. Nothing's cheap anymore. What was a $3,000 pump is now almost $10,000. That's how much everything has gone up. So if we don't do this now and we wait, it's gonna go up another 20%. And I don't think I'm that far off. Am I that
No, I
far
mean,
off?
like you said, I mean, everybody knows the story of COVID, but costs did increase significantly over those years. The cost estimate we presented, we believe we're being conservative with it. We don't want to undermine the bond vote and have to come in and ask for another million or so. So we've tried to be conservative. But to your other point, I mean, the evaluation of other sources, looking at groundwater sources, maybe closer to Island Pond, that goes back 50 plus years. I mean, that was evaluated back in the 1980s. And that's why ultimately in 87, they installed the 2 water treatment plants at the north and the south. There's not a source out there for groundwater that is going to give you maybe 230 gallons per minute. There's no guarantee of that. And there's no guarantee that if you do find a source that'll provide that, which is the capacity of both the sources right now, that it's going to have good quality water. There could be iron, there could be manganese, there could be arsenic. So you're still maybe having to treat that groundwater. So as part of this whole evaluation, this is why we propose refurbishing the existing water treatment plants. They've proven over the past 40 years that they're suitable. They need a little tender loving care, some upgrades, replacing a lot of the worn parts and pieces. But it's the most cost effective and most, I would say, guaranteed solution without a lot of uncertainty, like it would be if you were looking for a new groundwater source.
So the other thing that I kind of want everybody to kind of try to keep in mind is, yes, increases in costs are something that we all try to avoid. If we don't proceed with fixing these, they've reached the end of their lifeline. They will have catastrophic failures. We all know what happens when you don't maintain and don't do the things that need to be done. When you're able to go into a project and say, okay, these are the things that we need to do, this is what it's going to cost, and follow this process, it's better than, oh crap, we have no water now. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation where you turn on that faucet and it doesn't come on because we've had a complete catastrophic failure and we have no way, no funds, we have no engineering, we have no process to get that started. You have to look, and it's uncomfortable to think, but we don't have to think about, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen the next day. It's beyond that. It's what's going to happen in 5 years, in 10 years. If you don't maintain and fix these problems, we will not have water. It just won't be there. And I don't think that's the situation that any of us want to find ourselves in, is just not having it.
And to that point, I mean, you're not getting any subsidy if you're having to do emergency repairs. You're having to pull from your operation budget. So while I understand everybody's point, and if I was in your shoes, I'd be asking the same questions. You're getting a subsidy, you're getting to do something that maybe should have been done 10 years ago, is replace and upgrade your existing system. So hopefully, you know, when it comes around in the next 30 years, whoever's still here, maybe you're not having to bond for such a large refurbishment because you're keeping up over time with replacing mechanical parts or replacing the media. So hindsight being 2020, everyone can play Monday morning quarterback, but this, I think, sets you up for a good position to be fruitful in the future by making sure things are upgraded and maintained in a timely manner.
How will this affect taxes? Will, increase the taxes?
This won't, this is on the user. So no, it doesn't, unless we change that in the future and the taxpayers take over part of the bond vote, then it would be a balancing act between the two. But no, this right now, the way this is proposed, it has no effect on taxes at all.
So if we vote, so say people vote yes and it passes, they, you know, it's saying that it's gonna take a year to get this plan developed. It's gonna cost $1.5 million to do that. What if we have a catastrophic event between now and then, and what happens if all of the prices go skyrocket?
We deal with it like we did with wastewater. Unfortunately, there are no guarantees in life. I don't feel like we're going to have a catastrophic failure, but I won't say there won't. We're dealing with the South Reservoir. You know, it's leaking 20,000 gallons of water a day. And we were able to find a funding source to actually pay for that. And so, you know, that one is at no cost to the users, 100% covered by a grant for catastrophic failures. And if we get ourselves into that place, we hopefully will be able to find some funding for it. But, you know, a planned out refurbishment of the two plants is certainly way more preferable than trying to cobble together funding sources at the last minute. I mean, we've been doing that on the wastewater treatment plant, and it takes enormous amounts of time. You know, that project has just kept going up and up and up and up. And part of that was, you know, the original PER on that project was done before COVID. So after COVID, it automatically almost doubled in cost. And then we've had other issues at the plant down there that we've had to deal with. And, you know, luckily we were able to go and find money to pay for that. And, you know, that's what, as town administrators, that's what we do, is try to find that. But we do have to, in order to apply for the funding, we can't apply for, you know, a $5 million bond vote. They demand that you have to bond for the full cost of the project. In the event that funding falls through, you have to be able to go and borrow the money and finish the project. So that's why they do it that way. And it's been an issue in the wastewater treatment plant because we didn't bond. You know, we bonded for the full cost of a project that is now double the cost. So we're running up against that bond capacity on that project. And I stay up late at night sitting there and crunching numbers and figuring how I can borrow from Peter to pay Paul so that we stay under that and don't have to borrow more than that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have any easy answers for you. I mean,
So we've been bouncing that around a little bit. There's the option to run it, you know, where the existing or adjacent to it, or find a new route that may offer a little bit less, I'll call it undulation through the hills. They're both sort of still open. We need to get into the final design a little bit and get some better topographical survey to confirm. One of the other issues is the wetlands permitting. All of that area is considered wetlands up along the hill from the South Water Treatment Plant to the intake. Part of the discussion with them is, you know, if we go in a different route, that's going to require additional fees and costs. So if we keep it in the existing trench or close to the existing water line, it's considered a utility replacement rather than new infrastructure through the wetland. So those are things we're still trying to tease out a little bit to confirm what's the best approach, both from the design, the engineering, but also the permitting and the cost.
To
I did want to address the question you had about the engineering fees. So the engineering fees are all the way through this project. It's not just the design. So when they actually do construction, part of USDA or DWSRF, the state funding, they require RPR services, which is a resident project engineer, has to be on site for the entire project. And that is a huge part of the engineering costs on any project. And so it's not like they're just getting paid $1.5 million to sit and draw. It is in any project. And I will say that Aldrich and Elliott has done very, very good work for us, and they have a very good reputation with the state for doing great work with other towns too.
One of those situations where it's one of those situations where in order to get the grants, you have to incur certain costs. So if you don't incur those costs with the engineering, then you can't get the grants that cover the vast majority. So yes, it's extra costs incurred, but it's less than what you're gaining in the grants to help cover it. And they're probably, most of them are costs that are going to be incurred anyway.
And I'll just advocate for the engineer. Well, like Mike said, we have someone on site while construction is happening. So if there's issues, they're resolved in a timely manner. We're also ensuring, looking out for the best interest of the town, that what's shown on the plans is installed as it's designed, or the issues resolved. So that way you're not getting necessarily a shoddy product, or you're missing things. We're there on site, watching the bolts get tightened, watching the pipe getting homed in. We're there to monitor in the best interest of the town. And like Mike said, it includes both the step one, the preliminary engineering, the final design, and then the construction, the administration, the oversight, the special services with the permitting. That's all included in that engineering cost.
And if you start working on one of these projects, you learn all about engineering and all those different steps, what they all mean, because I knew nothing about that when we started the wastewater treatment plant. And so, I'm like, oh, we're in design, final design. No, we're in pre-final design. That's a whole nother step.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully with having someone on site, it does curb the change orders. You're able to resolve them in the field without a change order. That's not music to anyone's ears to hear the word change order. So. Any final questions?
Yes. We will be probably next year. I would like to come up with a new, it's another engineering fee. So, we do that with a grant. So we have to get on the grant cycle for that. But I do think we need to have somebody actually evaluate that we're putting away enough money. They did that in the past and they kind of followed it, but kind of didn't follow it. And so, we have certain reserves that are not funded nearly what they should be. I mean, that's when it came to the South Reservoir. We have a reservoir maintenance account, but there's not enough money in it to fix one reservoir. And so that's why we kind of, when this leak was found, it was pretty scary for the town to look at, oh, this is a $290,000 or $250,000 fix. And we don't have $250,000 in that fund after all these years. And so, I think we need to get a plan laid out, but then we have to follow it. And, that's at least it's what the water board and I have been working together on that to try and fix our budgeting going forward. And we are looking ahead, we're planning, and actually we're probably planning a little sooner than what this project is actually going, because everything takes longer than we think, because I had anticipated, I believe when I did the last 5-year budget, that by year 3, we'd be looking at loan payments already. Well, that's probably not going to be true. It's probably going to be closer to 5 years before we're going to actually have the first loan payment due. So that gives us time. And that also gives you time. So yes, that $22 a month, that's not going to change, but your income will change every year. So it might not seem like such a big increase when we actually get 5 years in the future. You know, there's the future value of money is there. You know, people get a raise every year. And hopefully. Well, you know.
I mean, and beyond that, it's not $20 is going to happen like tomorrow. If you eat like, and I mean, I know, trust me, I'm a payer too, and I look at my bill and I shake my head every time I open my bill. But it's going to be easier for me to, okay, we're going to increase it $5 this year and $5 next year and $5 so that you're at that $20, as opposed to holding tight where we're at today. And then without an announcement, you open up your bill and it's $200 higher than the last one. Kind of trying to stabilize that and keep it so that you at least are, it's predictable. I know that we're working with the water department now to get the meters updated so that you can get off that quarterly billing. For me, I come in and I pay my water and sewer bill every month so that it doesn't come as, oh, it's due right now. It's been a quarter. So there are things that we can do to help minimize the impact, including making that a gradual transition rather than holding tight at $1 amount and suddenly seeing an increase, and then working on getting you guys to where you have monthly billing, at least as an option.
And that the billing software works like it's supposed to. That has been a painful process updating. And when you get those weird bills, bear with us. We're trying to deal with it. We have, you know, this is an old system. And so we have meters that are installed backwards. We have meters that read in hundreds of gallons. We have meters that read in thousands of gallons. And so when you put a new software program in, it just goes crazy with all those oddball readings because it doesn't understand. And so it's a big manual process of going through and fixing those every quarter. And so hopefully over the next 6 months, they will get all the new meters installed and we can get away from that nightmare. We are. I mean, we would like to go to monthly because I think it would be easier for people not to get stuck with a quarterly big bill, you know, that it would just be a monthly bill, kind of like your electric bill. And
It also helps the cash flow as well. Oh, budgeting.
No, but how
No, she's talking about for the water.
For the water, it helps with the water.
you have money coming in every month, it allows you to pick up on certain, the biggest thing on the monthly billing is you pick up on a water leak in someone's home much quicker. So, you know,
I actually don't disagree with that considering I'm pretty sure what I paid for gallons last month because I had a water leak.
there's a lot of factors.
if we switch to monthly, no, it will switch. It'll be one or the other. We can't go quarterly or monthly. It's the system can do one or the other. As soon as the meters get right now. No,
Yeah,
so.
It will be announced before, like.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing we're going to do at that point when we switch to that is to try and get people to sign up for, you know, e-billing. You know, most people get their electric bill and cable bill and cell phone bill all via email. We are 97% mail. Every bill costs us $1 to send out. Well, the idea is that if we get people onto e-billing, then, you know, it helps budget wise, it helps eliminate that mailing cost and all of that.
I'm doing it on e-billing and I don't get it.
Do we have the right email address?
But I'm not getting it.
Oh, I bet you have us marked as spam.
I did that.
Well, and you know what? We'll check that out too. I mean, it's the system, you know, where I've got a meeting with them this week because we're going to do some training. You know, none of our, when that system was put in, the training did not actually take place like it should have. And so we have everybody trying to figure out how to do things and how to, you know, how to apply payments, how to enter email addresses, how to do the billing. But nobody really went through it from step 1 to step 10. You know, here's how to do it. Here's how to enter a new customer. So we're the town office staff. We're working on that over the next couple months. I have a meeting with the billing software company to redo all of our training because it did not take what we had. Yes. Sorry, Nate.
That's all good. Any final questions? Yeah, so the only thing that's truly getting refurbished is the tank shell. That's what's getting sandblasted and recoated. Any moving part or piece will be replaced. Yep.
I had the same question when they brought that up the first time.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for coming. Appreciate you coming out tonight.